So, welcome back, guys. Before we get into this very important episode with important things that are being unlocked during this time, I want to share with you guys my coffee machine died yesterday. If you don't know, I'm a very big coffee drinker. You will usually see this in my videos, or you will see me live with this all the time. I love coffee, it makes the day sweeter. But yesterday, after having my coffee maker for about since 2017, my husband bought me that in 2017 when we got married. So that's what 9 years. I've had it for 9 years. Jeez, it broke. So the first time this happened, I was able to fix it. I did a YouTube video. I watched how this guy went through all the steps, and then I did that. It worked. Second time, did the same thing. This third time, though, I was just like, I think it's on this last leg. Let me just this coffee maker. I would say it's more on the expensive side. It was over $100. My very first coffee maker my husband ever bought me because he didn't want me to spend money every single day going out to get coffee. So that's how we save some cash. And so yesterday, I'm doing all of my collaborations. I work with, you guys know, I work with a lot of different brands in the beauty space, and so I'm doing my videos, doing these collaborations, and I go downstairs to get my coffee, and the coffee machine just starts and then goes out, starts and goes out, and I'm like, what's going on? So I text hubby, can I just go out and get? I'm just gonna go out and get coffee, and he's like, yeah, feel free to do that, and then go ahead and order a new coffee machine at while you're at it. And I'm like, I already did that, so like I just went ahead and did it. So this new coffee machine, guys, is way less expensive, but the coffee machine has a K-pod organizer, which my old one, which was way more expensive, didn't have. So the new one I got is like 64 bucks. It's like 13% off. I'm letting you guys know because if you are a coffee drinker and you are looking to get a new coffee machine, consider this one. It's very nice. So it was 64 bucks, 13% off, like I mentioned, right off of Amazon. And this one had the K-pod organizer, so you get 12. You can put 12 K-pods in there on the organizer, so it keeps your counter looking very nice instead of having the little boxes of K-pod. Not only does it come with a little K-pod insert, but it also has the filter basket too. So if you don't have your K-pods, you run out of that, and you have the grinds, you can do that. I love that. 64 bucks. And it also has of course, different ounces. It has a little water dispenser in the back. It also has this anti-spill feature too. So it's pretty cool and a lot more. I feel I can get a lot more out of it than what I even could have of my old one, which was more expensive. It lasted me a long time and still rated a 4.7, my old one. And this new one, I believe is rated like a 4.2, but it's been doing very well for me. So if you want to check out that one, the link to my Amazon storefront's in the show notes. So you can check it out and get yourself a new coffee maker that you don't have to do the work and searching for one if you need a new one and you want to check out the different prices and see how they're doing. So there that is. Okay, so today's episode, guys, we're going to get into um I just have a very important question I want to ask us. So, who can we trust? Can we trust the FBI? Can we trust these agencies who are called to go after hate and reveal basically the political organizations or groups that are driving hate in America? Can we trust our government? Can we trust our federal government to steward taxpayer money responsibly? And I'm not bringing these questions up because I want to lead us to some type of conspiracy against our government. Okay, that's the last thing I want to do. I feel like that would be counterproductive because even though we can't always see what they're doing, we don't always understand how the things work at that level because we're not trained in specific fields, for example, lawyers, FBI, etc. That doesn't give us the grounds to say that there's a conspiracy or something wrong is happening, right? I think we can. It would be counterproductive to say that about every single thing and to call it a farce, but what we can do though with the asking of the questions is kind of try to look into these cases a little bit more and more than what we're being painted or given by the media, of course, to try and put together what is actually taking place at this level, especially when it comes to somebody we elected and that we trust to do the job, or at least gave the benefit of the doubt to do the job. So because I hear a lot of people say they don't feel like they can trust the government, and I get it. I do, but I don't want to drive conspiracy theories about things, okay, that I don't have any insight on. So, but again, we can ask these questions without getting to that point. So, the first thing I want us to go and dive into is this case, and there's a lot of things we're going to talk about, but this case with Kilmar Abrego Garcia. And joining me today to help break down the things that we're going to talk about. So, we're going to go into Abrego Garcia. We're also going to go into the Southern Poverty Law Center. We're going to go into Cash Patel, the whole thing around him drinking on the job and him being locked outside of his computer, thinking that he lost his job. We're going to go into all of these different things and dive deep as we can go, pulling up the dockets and information so we can get real clarity and insight that I don't see in articles reported by AP and other mainstream media. So this will help us to kind of see what's actually taking place. But joining me to break this down more for us and kind of help us to get to a more solid conclusion and more insight to what's taking place is a good friend of mine who's also host of The Insurrection and CEO of Ex America News, Michael Lauer. Thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you for having me, and my condolences to your coffee maker.
Thank you. I love coffee. I drink this, guys, at least once or two cups a day. Okay, I love it. I enjoy it very much. My husband is not so much a coffee drinker. He can just get and go, and his day is always sweet with Jesus. My day's sweet with Jesus too. But I love to have my coffee on the side. Thank you
It's
so much.
worth it, and having a good coffee machine. I I did the same thing, and this is years ago, and I was still in staffing. I was buying coffee at Starbucks or McDonald's or whatever, fancy coffee my way into work, and that adds up. I bought an inexpensive espresso machine. It's the best, like $280 I ever spent in my life. Like, I use that thing every day. It saves me a fortune, so I'm not going out and buying coffee from people that hate us or people that are selling
Yeah,
food that's killing us.
right.
And I don't know if we still have these or not, but I'm going to check with Annie when we get off air. Her and I used to have a mold, a resin art mold for a K cup dispenser. If the mold still works, we're going to make you one and send it over.
Oh, cool. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Well, yeah, I mean, okay. Guys, it's awesome. If you got coffee now and if enjoy it while we're doing this episode, enjoy it
Yeah,
on my
there you
behalf.
go.
So let's get into this Camila Abrego Garcia case. I went into deep dive mode with this case. I think it was the very first episode that I released on Ex America News that when I started to get into politics. I read the dockets, guys. I did the FBI reports. I tried to do as much deep dive as I could because I just didn't want to sound like all the mainstream media and just report solely what they say. I wanted to not just take their word for it, but do my own deep dive. And I'm not saying every mainstream media is like that. There's a lot of them that are. I feel like majority of them are like biased. But so this case was very interesting. Let me take us back to historical context and I'll bring us up to speed on where we are right now with this case. Okay. So let me start with first the things that let me start with the Trump administration. Let's start there, and then I'll break down what is or this man has been charged with and or indicted, and we'll go through all of that side of things as well. So Trump administration comes on the scene in second term. We're going hard after these after illegal aliens, whether or not they're criminals, which was a huge difference under the Biden administration. Trump goes forward and acts the Alien Enemies Act, and underneath that act, I believe what took place is once he designated all of these gangs as foreign as terrorist groups, that removed asylum for people that participated in those groups. And Abrego Garcia, for example, has had the tattoos, symbols on his knuckles of saying that this MS-13. If I feel if you're going to tat your body with something like that, it's probably something that you heavily believe in or you're involved in. Whereas, and there's another case saying that he was wearing a shirt related to the gang. Now, shirts you can take on and off, right? Okay. Either he supports them or he's with them, right? But if you're going to tattoo your body with that, I think we can look more into that and come to a more fair conclusion that you are highly enjoying this gang, or at least at some point, this was something in your life. And then you have the Alien Enemies Act. Then you have a deportation order where he gets sent to El Salvador, where he is from. He is an illegal alien. I think in 2019, when he came over here illegally initially in 2019, he filed for asylum, fearing his life. The judge granted him that, but then again, Trump comes on the scene and acts the Alien Enemies Act. And he was convicted by a judge as being a part of MS-13 at one point. So they deported him. He was ordered to be brought back because of, I believe, administrative orders, things like that. I don't try not to get sidetracked because I want you guys to follow me. But Mike, I'm going to insert here something that you and I've talked about before, which is when it comes to these prosecutions, that we don't want these to be rushed. And I know that we want to see the Trump administration bring prosecutions, and I'm not defending Pam Bondi or any of them, but this was always my stance. Was I wonder is if we brought these cases up as quickly as we could, right? If there's any error, could the case be thrown out and the prosecution we're looking for not be had? And I feel like the Kilmar Brego Garcia case is like a great example of that, because you see them go forward with this, enacting the Alien Enemies Act and moving forward, and then there's an administrative error. So then he's brought back here, and he has to go through this whole process, and now we're at this place right now. Basically, I'm fast forwarding us, guys, where they are trying to deport him now to Liberia, I believe. So there's not a clear place on where they're going to deport him, since he doesn't want to go to El Salvador because he fears for his life because of gangs.
Right,
Um,
right.
so the judge has said that he can't be deported unless they have that part, basically figured out. But he has been charged with human smuggling, and this is where I get to the place where we talk about the um the charges that have been brought on him since he came here illegally, and I'm going to break that down. But before I go into that, Mike, I'm going to let you comment on that. What are your thoughts on that? So when I mentioned that, with the administrative error of him, because of that, they had to, and I'm going to use the correct wording, facilitate his return back to the US, because that matters, guys, when you look at the whole scheme of, or the whole grand of this situation. They had to facilitate him coming back to the US, meaning provide him a plane to come back and, basically face trial and do that. So this has been a huge case. It's Maryland's quote unquote Maryland father. And I'm going to get into all the other things, but what are your insights on that? Do you have anything you want to jump
I
into on
don't buy this administrative error nonsense. I mean, this is judicial activism and has been the whole time. What's the supposed administrative error? Because it all goes back to like the guy was already on a plane out of the country. Then the judge said, "Oh no, 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 we got to bring him back." They tried to stop the flights. It was already too late. They were already out of his jurisdiction and beyond U.S. borders. So yeah, I don't really buy it.
He's
This
in
is
his
just
home country?
leftist. Yeah, yeah, and again, like he says he fears for his life. The MS-13 tattoo on his hand. I know the media tried to say it was something else because like part of it's symbolism. I don't remember what it is. I think the M's like a marijuana leaf, and I don't remember what the
Yes,
rest of it
symbolism.
was. A
Yeah.
dollar sign for the S, I think, and I don't remember what the one and the three were. But anyway, like it's all nonsense. It's them trying to pretend this guy is just some poor, innocent, illegal alien that was just trying to be a family man. That again, that's BS. He was picked up for human trafficking. He beats his girlfriend or wife or whatever she is. There's multiple charges there. This guy's a scumbag. He should be out of the country. And again, let's not forget, numero uno, he's in the country illegally. That's already grounds for deportation, and you do not have rights to a judicial hearing if you're here illegally. This is made up. It's never been enforced before. Under Obama, when he was deporting people, or even under Biden, you did not have rights to a hearing. Due process is not always time in front of a judge, but this is the myth they're trying to create to slow down the process of deporting people. But no,
Mm.
I don't buy this any way whatsoever. This is judges wanting to intervene, wanting to stall things. They don't want these deportations to take place. Um, Especially right now, well, illegal aliens are still being used in the count of the census to determine distribution of power in Congress and electoral votes. So, yeah, I don't buy it. These judges are just activists.
I agree with you. So when we read the articles from even AP, Reuters, wherever you read these articles from, they start leaving out really like key details that you have to, as an American, just go and find yourself. Like I mentioned, reading the dockets, because one report they talked about him having 9 people in the car, is including himself. It's 9, but it's actually 8 people that he had in the car. They don't mention anything about these people that he was. So let me pause. So the charge is human smuggling, right?
Mhm.
And they mention that he's traveling with these people. They don't talk anything about the fact that none of these people had IDs on them. None of them had luggages. And also the fact that he said he was traveling from Texas, which all we know is a hub for trafficking, into Temple Hills, Missouri, which is a 12-hour drive. He tells the trooper who stopped him in 2022 that that he was traveling for 3 days. How does a 12-hour drive take you travel for 3 days? And when you're smuggling or you're trafficking, what they try to do is they try to do detours so that they can't be picked up. Their trail can't be picked up by law enforcement. So all of these things, led to the experienced trooper who's been on the job for years, coming to the conclusion that this guy is human trafficking, or he's doing human trafficking, or he's either smuggling or something along. This is fishy. So, and I'm paused there because I'm going to read you guys out all of the findings too. But yeah, so this is the reason first, and I believe it was in December 1st, where yeah, December 1st, 2022, when he was stopped by the trooper. And I am fast forwarding because Mike mentioned that he did beat his wife. His wife did file a protective order against him for slapping her. For he says he hit her, slapped her, ripped her shirt. She said that there was even one record that she had him recorded saying, "I could kill you and nobody would do anything to me."
Yep.
So that, that's all documented too. But when we get up, let's speed up to this 2022 case where he stopped by a trooper. And the trooper, first of all, he came here legally. The trooper stopped him because he was speeding and swerving in and out of the lane. So he's here legally, still doing illegal acts. Then once the trooper stops him, he discovers that his driver's license is expired. Please keep in mind that this is under the Biden administration. And then when the trooper stops him, driver's license expired. 8 other people are traveling with him. He says he left Houston, Texas and traveled to Temple Hills, Missouri. I just mentioned to you guys how long that drive should have been and how long he told the trooper he had been driving. These people had no luggages. They had no IDs. They did not speak any English, and they all gave the address of Kilmar Abrego Garcia that they were going to go with him, which if you know about human trafficking cases and you research that, they are trained people that are in traffic or in those situations. They are trained to basically, say things that doesn't get them in trouble or doesn't implicate their trafficker, right?
Yeah, and
And
help
to
hide the organization that they may be working for.
and avoid detention. He even tells the trooper that the car that he was driving is not his, it's his boss. So 8 individuals we have traveling here. I'm gonna make sure I don't miss any details, guys. So this is the reason why this trooper came up to the conclusion this guy's human smuggling or trafficking. Um, so then we get to the point, right? Please keep, like I mentioned, I'm gonna say it again. Keep in mind it's under the Biden administration. We get to the point where the trooper calls ICE to detain him, to detain Kilmar Abrego Garcia. When he calls ICE, ICE declines to take him in. So then you have to go into why would ICE, as you see how they're enforced, they have a new spirit under Trump. You see something different taking place, right, under Trump. So why would they at this time decline to take this man in when an experienced trooper, these interagencies should be working together, um, calls them and tells them all the things that they see, and it's like this is just a sign of human trafficking or human smuggling. So when I researched this, you find that under the Biden administration, ICE was heavily defunded. They had less beds. They were under new orders to only take illegal aliens in, and not if they just crossed the border. That wasn't enough. They practice this very soft on crime type policy across the board.
Yeah, if I
So
could interject real quick, essentially you had to already have outstanding warrants for like serious violent crime, or they just paroled you into the country, as they say. ICE was ICE was basically acting as Uber for illegal aliens during the Obama Biden administration. Man, that was a slip. But anyway, sorry. Please continue.
yeah, um, I'm pulling this up too because I just thought of this case right here. Okay. So they call ICE, ICE declined to take them in. When you research how much money ICE was given to do their job and the orders that they were given, so they were only allowed to take in illegal aliens if they had committed heinous crimes like killing somebody. Okay. So smuggling, that's not enough. You have to actually kill somebody. Okay. For us to consider that you are a threat and to Americans and we were to bring you in. So that whole thing's happening there. So then the trooper, okay, so then the trooper doesn't give this guy, and this is all documented. You can find this in a docket. Doesn't give this guy a ticket for the license. Doesn't give him a ticket for swerving in and out of the lane. Just gives him a warning and sends him on his way with 8 people in his car without ID, without any luggage. Can't speak English. And I get it. So the trooper could probably play a gray line there because if he goes in to arrest them and he doesn't cite any signs of abuse on the people, then there could be some legal actions there. That throws out the case, right? So there's some things to this. However, you have to ask yourself why didn't they take the proper actions that they should probably have taken earlier? And the only explanation I could come up with is this: under the Biden administration leadership, guys, 10 out of 10 matters. Because even when you look at the Colorado raid, There was an agent in the art in an article I read that said they felt a renewed sense of purpose under Trump, which is why these interagencies are working together, dismantling these gang members and their operations and these cartel members operating in our nation, taking them down, recovering children, right? Thousands of kids have been recovered since the second term of Trump that were, came through the border, unaccompanied minors, so this is what we have taking place. So the leadership, the head is 10 out of 10 the thing that you have to pay attention to when it comes to how these agencies work, because if they don't have the backing of the administration, their life and their jobs on the line, right? So they just have to kind of do what they're told, even if it's not what they signed up to do. So, and I hope that makes sense. So this is what was taking place. So I'll give you guys a little backstory there, on him, and then we got the thing on his wife. So now, the Trump administration has charged him with human smuggling. So that's one thing. Uh, he has pleaded not guilty, and so we're going to have to see how all that plays out. But he is still ordered to be basically deported. The hold is where. So this is where we kind of stand in a nutshell with this whole Kilmar Brego Garcia case.
Yeah. And, at this point, if the judge really believes he can't go back to his homeland of El Salvador, which, make no mistake, it isn't because he fears retaliation from gangs. It's because he has an MS-13 tattoo on his hand, and the rules
Yeah,
are the rules. He's going to
right.
CCOT when he shows down there, because he's
He's a
clearly
maximum security prison at the same time.
yeah. Well, yeah, and it's a minimum 10-year sentence too. So just for being a member. So that's what the real problem is. He doesn't want to go there. He doesn't want to face justice because he was operating for MS-13 as a smuggler. I mean, I haven't seen evidence of anything, murders or anything else yet connected to him, like a lot of other MS-13 members. But regardless, it doesn't matter. You're here illegally. If you have an outstanding warrant or you're going to be prosecuted back in your home country, great. That's justice should be served. He was here smuggling people around the country. He was beating his wife or girlfriend or whatever she was. I mean, this guy is not a good person. He's definitely not somebody we want to have here.
Mm-mm.
Like Chris Van Hollen and these other people have been propping him up, both politically and in the media. They're patently dishonest, and two, again, this is just cheering for our own destruction. There is no valid reason to keep this guy here. He's not a Maryland dad, as they like to portray him. He's a member of MS-13. Yeah, maybe he's not one of the guys going around killing people or pushing fentanyl on the streets. I don't know that we know that for sure either, but that he was more on the trafficking and smuggling side of the operations, but still he's part of their network. It's just like any other organized crime. It's going to up the charges and up the penalties. And hey, they want him back home in El Salvador to mete out justice on him. And that's where we should send him. I mean, I got to be honest, if I were Kilmar Obrego Garcia, I would much prefer to go back to El Salvador, even if that was in
Yes.
jail, to get dropped off in Liberia. Good
Yeah.
Lord. I
Yeah.
mean, I've seen some videos in Liberia and the ports there. I mean, it might as well be like a zombie apocalypse film. The warlords, everything else, it's just unbelievable things could even get that bad.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really bad. Let's go ahead and play this clip. This is Nick Sorter approaching one of, I believe, our senators,
Jamie
and
Raskin.
that supported Kilmar Brego Garcia.
Get out of my face, you little fascist! Get out of my face!
Hey, Congressman, quick question for you. So you originally...
Who are you?
Hi, my name is Nick.
Nick,
nice
from
to
where?
meet you.
Which
I'm from
media
X.
entity?
I'm from X. So I have to ask you,
Wait,
you said
You
Kilmar
have to get-
Abrego
excuse me.
Garcia.
You're gonna- excuse
You
me.
voiced a lot of support for him originally. Now he's been charged with facilitating the
to your
transport
job. Go back to your
of
job.
illegals. Are you
Really?
still going to double down on that?
So he gets due process now? Do you
He
believe
gets
in
due
do you
process
believe in
now?
due process?
I don't think he... Wait,
Oh,
was
I
he
thought you
supposed
were
to
an
be here to
American.
begin with? Was he illegal? Was
Americans
he illegal?
believe in
How
due
did,
process.
How did Kilmar Abrego
Trump's
Garcia
judge
get here?
allowed him to be here.
How-
did you know that?
how did he get here
Watch
originally?
out,
Did
you
he
can
come
hurt
here
yourself.
legally?
Your girlfriend's
Did he come here
calling.
legally?
Get back to your job,
Okay,
man.
so you can't answer the question.
Yeah, no.
Well, you seem a little angry about it. Is that why? Is it because you were made to be a fool out over it? I mean, you were supporting a man whose wife accused him of beating her.
Trump's
You've gotta
judge
be
allowed him
kidding
to be
me.
in the country. Did you know that?
He's not in-
Trump's
he's not-
judge allowed him to be in the country.
He was allowed in the
No,
country, and then what?
No,
And then
go
what
check
happened?
it out.
And then what happened? Then he was deported back to his home country. You keep calling him the Maryland father. who apparently beats his wife, which she said on the record that he beats her.
Go back to your QAnon meeting.
Is it okay with you? Is it okay with you
QAnon's calling you.
to
Go
see
back to
illegals
QAnon.
smuggling other illegals through the country? Is that what the people of Maryland
Go back
want?
to QAnon.
The people of Maryland, you think they want illegal gangbangers?
Go back to the people
bringing
of Mars, man. Go back to wherever you think you're from, all right?
Okay, so human
Just get out
smuggling,
of
yes
my
or no?
face.
Human smuggling,
Get
yes
out
or
of
no?
my face, you little fascist. Get out of my face.
Little
I'm not,
fascist.
yes,
Okay.
you are.
All right. Well, okay. Let's
Get
go
out of
to
my face, you
Padilla
little
then.
fascist.
Okay. What about Padilla? Are you
Get
saying
out
what
of
he
my
did
face,
earlier
you
was
little
okay?
fascist.
Going in and interrupting a press conference? Was he a fascist too? Huh?
Yeah, you
Come
know
on,
all
man.
the
I mean,
fascists. Is
I
he in your
understand
group?
why you're
Is
so
he in your
angry
group?
about this because you look like a
I'm not
freaking
gonna-
fool now. You
Get-
look ridiculous.
Get the hell out of my face.
I'm not in your face, bro.
You little fascist.
You got your little minions pushing me back. So come on.
There's something wrong with you,
I mean,
man.
these aren't very difficult
QAnon
questions.
is calling you.
Do
Get back to
you
QAnon.
condemn the transport of illegals throughout the country? Do you condemn that? Do you think that people
Get
should be
back
smuggling
to
other
QAnon.
illegals
Get back,
through
you
the
little
country?
fascist, to your
Okay, so you
QAnon
have no
chapter.
answer to that. It seems like a pretty.
Get back.
This
No,
is a
I believe in the
90-10
Constitution of the
issue,
United States.
Congressman.
Do you believe in due process or no?
Do you get
Do
due
you
process?
believe in due
Wait,
process
so
or
you
not?
come in,
No, answer me one question.
Okay,
you
what was the
little
process
fascist.
that he used to get
Do
into the
you
United
believe in
States?
due
Was
process?
it illegal?
You
Did
little
he come
fascist.
into the country legally?
One yes or no question. Do you believe in due process or not? Yes
Absolutely.
Or no?
Do
All
you?
right, good.
Now,
get
do
out
you
of my
believe
face.
that? All right, so you're not going to answer my questions. I
already
answered
answered
yours.
50 of your stupid
You
little
didn't answer a
fascist
single one. Are you
I
taking
told
back
you-
your support
I
for
told
Kilmar
you
Abrigo
Donald
Garcia?
Trump's judge kept him in the country.
Okay, so
And
you're
you're not gonna
okay.
cover-
So
you're not gonna
I'm gonna
print
post the whole
that.
thing
No,
unedited.
you're not-
Watch,
no, no,
watch.
you're
You'll
not gonna
see.
do
Trust me, you'll see. Okay, so I'll give you one.
Jamie Raskin, everyone.
What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, these guys are unhinged lunatics, and this is back to what we said earlier. This isn't about due process. Due process does not automatically mean a jury trial. A lot of times it's administrative action. You don't have a right to a hearing automatically. Now, if you're an American citizen and you're being charged with a crime, then you do have, then due process means something else. Then it does mean you have the right to a jury trial. But even then, in a lot of states now, they have ticket offenses and things like that where you can't get in front of a judge. So, but what they're entitled to is an immigration hearing. That again does not mean it's in front of a judge. That can be in front of a ICE agent that's designated under the right position. I'm blanking on what it is right now, and that's essentially reviewing the evidence. That, hey, do you have any proof that you're allowed to be here in the country? Is there a visa? Is there anything else? No. Okay, well, you're not supposed to be here. You're clearly here, so time for you to go. It's that simple. You don't need a trial or a jury or anything else, because if they're not here legally, they're not here on a visa. If they overstayed a visa or anything else, the crimes are self-evident and the penalties are automatic. We bump you on out of the country. We send you back to wherever you came from. You get to go make wherever great again.
Okay, let me end with this, and then if you want to comment, I'll let you. But so when you read some of these news articles on the situation, guys, they mention the wife. They talk about the findings that she had filed an order of protection against him because of the abuse. But and then they say that they kind of leave it very vague there. They just state what everybody kind of already knows because it's been put out by the media, and then they leave it as her saying, well, everybody makes mistakes, and they stop it there. But let's talk about the psychology of this. If somebody is experiencing domestic abuse, it is very common for them to try to cover the person that did it, or to even continue to go back to that relationship. None of them cited any of this stuff. They just leave it all vague, as if like it ends here, and they soften it, basically to push a narrative, of course. Now, I do believe people can have second chances. I do believe Jesus can do all things with any life if we allow him. I'm just pointing out the fact that when you go to the reporting to try to get the right information and all of the information and when you desire these reporters do their job, you end up not finding that. So this is what we see taking place with his wife, and of course, that's her husband. He has a father, her kids and stuff. I'm sure they worked through that, is what she said as well, that she would want him to be present. But this is where we are right now with the Kim Abrego Garcia case. As Nick sort of mentioned, the senator, I don't know if he feels if he's embarrassed by it, but there is a charge that he did definitely engage in that. Not definitely, but the charge is human smuggling, which it kind of looks like he will be charged with that. So I'll be following this case, guys, and I will provide you with updates as it goes and we get a final verdict, especially where he will be deported. So you can stay tuned for that. Now let's shift gears here, because like I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, everything we're going to be talking about is very much related. So we're going to get down next to the Kash Patel FBI case. This is I saw it was basically Todd Blanche and FBI Director Kash Patel together, and he was asked by a reporter about the recent allegations that he had came to work drunk. Atlantic had reported that he came to work drunk, that he had been intoxicated, that he passed out, and all of these things. And also at one point, he couldn't. There was another report that he thought he was fired from his job. He was locked out of his computer and thought that he had been let go, and there was a scare there. He thought he's fired. And so this whole thing is going on too, which he has denied both of those things. And he said that he's never drunk. He's never been drunk on the job. And he fired back at reporters. And I'm not saying necessarily for or against Kash Patel or anything like that, but the fact that when I researched a little bit more into this, I couldn't find any evidence other than a source for the Atlantic saying that this happened. I couldn't find any evidence like pictures of him being drunk, videos. Maybe even there are videos in his FBI office or somewhere showing this is true. So none of that right there seems to have appeared yet. I couldn't find anything on that. So he is suing them for a lot of money. And he kind of fires back on them in this recent press conference with Todd Blanche, when Todd Blanche was breaking down another fraud case with the Southern Poverty Law Center. So this was asked of Kash Patel. So I believe we have like a video clip I want to show you guys of that incident, so you can see what Kash Patel responded to the reporter that asked him this, and then also the stats he gave for the work he's done as FBI director.
To respond directly to the allegations in the Atlantic article that your unexplained absences created a national security risk. And beyond that, can you say definitively that you have not been intoxicated or absent during your tenure as FBI director?
I can say unequivocally that I never listen to the fake news mafia. And as when they get louder, it just means I'm doing my job. This FBI director has been on the job twice as many days as every director before me. What that means is I've taken half as many days off as those before me. What that means is I've taken a third less vacation than those before me. What that means is that this FBI with this Department of Justice has dropped the murder rate 20 points. What that means is this FBI with this Department of Justice has captured 8 of the top 10 most wanted fugitives in the world, twice as many as the Biden administration did in its entire 4 years. What that means is this FBI has seized enough fentanyl off the streets to kill 178 million Americans, a 31% increase. What that means is this FBI and this DOJ has arrested 43% more spies in 14 months than the entirety of the Biden administration. What that means is this FBI has seen a reduction in opiate overdose deaths up to 20% alone. What that means is that we have found 6,300 child victims, 6,300 families have their kids back. That is a 22% increase from the Biden administration. I'm on the job. I'm the first one in. I'm the last one out. I'm like an everyday American who loves his country, loves the sport of hockey, and champions my friends when they raise a gold medal and invite me in to celebrate. I've never been intoxicated on the job, and that is why we filed a $250 million defamation lawsuit. And any one of you that wants to participate, bring it on. I'll see you in court.
Explain the computer login issue. Just explain the computer.
Okay. So there's the second part we're going to get into as well. Let me know your thoughts on this. So I love that he spit facts, because those things are true. He has done a lot of work and in covering, and he's and this is great. This is amazing what he's done. And now you have the Atlantic article saying this, and she said that she basically had an informant, somebody that told her that this was what was taking place on the job with FBI Director Kash Patel, which he has denied. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, a few things. Like, to address the immediate thing with the claims that he's drunk on the job and all this, it's just more unsubstantiated nonsense. If they've got a witness or they've got video or they've got something else, like I say about other people all the time, put up or shut up. Let's see it. I'm tired of this anonymous source nonsense. Now, to go with some of his facts that he was saying there, Steve Friend, you can also find here on Ex American News Monday through Friday at about 9:30 in the morning. Former FBI agent, as he points out, they do like to pad their numbers. The FBI loves taking credit for local cases they had nothing to do with, other than maybe after the fact interviewing a suspect or something like that. So I do know those numbers are greatly padded, and that is one point that some people in the media have made that is legitimate, that they will have had zero to do with solving the case, arresting the person, anything else. They come in after the fact, and then suddenly now it's an FBI case file, and they give themselves credit for it. And this isn't new to Kash Patel. This has been ongoing with the FBI for a very, very long time. That being said, they have largely done a good job in a lot of these areas, where a lot of us are kind of upset with the FBI is more for the arrests that haven't taken place. This narrative that there's no one to arrest in the Epstein files that, again, Kash Patel has put out there multiple times. And then the other one is, there's about 6,000 FBI agents that are still part of the Bureau. They're part of the J6 investigations, part of the political targeting, part of everything else. And the vast majority of those have not suffered any repercussions, including, initially when we went into this, what we kept hearing over and over again is, well, it's leadership, it's leadership, it's leadership. That's who was responsible for it. Well, they haven't got rid of most of the people in leadership either. And that's our bigger concerns. But yeah, when it comes to this particular case, I have trouble believing that Kash Patel showed up at the Hoover building, tore up from the floor up, and couldn't get in the building or couldn't get in his laptop, thought he was fired. I mean, this just all sounds like nonsense to me. It seems like that would be a big enough story that there would be multiple people coming forward. There would be an immediate investigation. There would be repercussions if, he showed up plastered to the Hoover building or anything else. I've seen nothing else with him drunk in public, anything like that. This all stems from, so you and I were discussing off air, is we'll call it another unforced error. It comes to us from a story that happened right after he took the position, was sworn in, that he restocked their plane, the FBI plane, with $50,000 worth of alcohol, and they've had a exceptionally high budget going to alcohol spending through the FBI going on for months. Now, there may be something to that. It's very likely it's legitimate, but again, I'd rather look into it and say, oh yeah, well we spent this because they bought enough for, I don't know, to restock everything for a year. But regardless, if they've got a witness to this, let's see it. Otherwise, it's just more nonsense. It's character assassination, and I hope he wins his lawsuit.
Yeah, $250 million. Now, I do think that, what we have seen consistently from Trump, that if somebody seems incompetent about their job, and Trump is really against being drunk or doing drugs,
Yeah.
I think he would have removed him already. I think we would have seen something
Yeah.
take place, because that seems to be more consistent with Trump's character. And and if you see that, because we saw from Trump's first administration, for example, that he works at warp speed. And that consistently what we hear about from everyone that works around him is that he doesn't sleep. He gets 4 hours of sleep. He's always calling. He's giving Marco Rubio tons of jobs. He's always moving and always doing something. He wants it done now. And even when you listen to the cabinet meetings or you listen to any press conference he has, he always asks them, "What's the timeline? When can we get this done? I want it done now," right? So he's someone that moves fast. And so my take on everything is when we look at the fact that he is just one man and he can't operate every single arena of the government. That's why he assigns people. That's why we have a DOJ, we got an FBI director, etc. These people are supposed to do their job. So if there's a lag there, we got to look at the person that's been assigned to do the job, not just necessarily look at the president. But again, he will usually take a part of that flag because he's the leader. And the same thing I think will happen with Kash Patel. When we talk about the FBI agents, if something goes wrong and they're in, we got to look at the person that's head, right? So when things go right, I think we should also look at the head. So I think it goes back to that. But I agree with you that this is, in the end, probably it seems more like just some type of media spin. And even when I listened to the lady that actually released this article, we're not going to play that here. You can go and look it up if you like. But she did an interview, the Atlantic article. She did an interview on her release of this whole thing about Kash Patel and her being sued. She's smirking in the interview. It starts off the whole interview smirking, and you can see it on her face, like we got him type thing. But then there's nothing produced. I didn't see anything in that interview that she produced any evidence of what the claim was. It's just that she trusts the source that gave it to her. And she said that, I look forward to fighting this in court. We got the best lawyers, and la da da da. That's her that's her fight. That's what's helping her right now, is that they got great lawyers, etc. So it seems like it could possibly be a witch hunt. I am not ruling out anything. You know, I we don't know for sure. Okay, but I think I'm gonna lean with you on this, Mike.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm a little suspicious to say the least. This doesn't seem to be
mm,
in character for him, and I feel like if they really did have some kind of bombshell witness or evidence, we would have already seen it.
I like what Thomas Frierson said in my comment section. He said this, it doesn't have to be true. All it has to be is said.
Bingo. It's about
True.
creating a narrative. It isn't about the truth.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so we're moving along here, guys. So the next thing I want to get into, we got a lot we're going to be covering, guys. So I want to make sure we got the time to do that. Let me just pause and also mention that if you want deeper breakdowns of everything that we'll be covering when it comes to politics, right now we're diving into jihad, which I think my husband and I, for date night last night, we started watching a movie that was recommended to us. Oh gosh, I can't remember the name of it, but it was about 9/11. They were basically interrogating. The movie starts off with them in an interrogation room, or they basically have this guy who's a spy and working for Osama bin Laden, and they're basically torturing him to get information and stuff. It's a very long thing of torturing, so we didn't finish the movie because we're like, oh, just him torturing, and it
Did
was
that
some
have
obscene
Samuel L.
stuff.
Jackson in it?
I don't think so. I
Okay.
didn't see
Not
Samuel Jackson.
okay, not
Uh,
the one I'm thinking of then, because yeah, you guys definitely don't want to watch that one. It's pretty bad.
okay, because there's a part where the guy they strip the guy down to kind of like bottoms, and I was just like, ugh. Like so, I was like, let's put something else. I'm like, okay. They don't necessarily show everything; you just see behind, but it's still disgusting. So, we didn't finish watching it, but I do think it's based on real events. So, there is a guy that they do interrogate. All that stuff did really, take place, but again, I think for us to have the context and this is the thing I think the media also consistently leaves out. Okay, not like I said, not all of them. I'd say like 80% of them. They always intentionally leave out historical context to get you to think about right now. For example, with Iran, did they pose immediate threat? But did we forget all of the troops that have sacrificed up until this very point? All of the times that negotiations have been had, the terror that they brought in the Middle East. Are we forgetting all of this stuff? For example. So if we forget the past, if we forget those things that take place, then that argument flies with the media, with the American people. But this is the thing I think that we have to pay attention to. The historical context is extremely important when we're talking about politics, global events, and things like that, so we can understand how we even got here and what to do going forward. And the type of like Trump understands completely how to. I feel like he understands more than the previous administrations how to deal with someone like the Iranian leadership. But I say all that because in my subscriber group, we break all of this down. We go into details, and I do bring in people that are expert in this field that have way more insight than I do that have been studying this. For example, we brought in Inez Cyrus, who will also be joining me on in May, second Wednesday of May, which I believe is the 13th, to break down more about her book, Architecture of Jihad. And in that, we do a private Zoom meeting where you can get to ask questions and all of that, even about current events. And she breaks it all down. So you get to meet us face to face. You get to meet and have connections with the people I have connections with, which is great. And these are people that Mike himself has introduced me to, some key people. So that have experts and that are expertise in these fields. So they're either experts or they're grassroots warriors who have frontline experience and were able to either write books or some type of material on their findings that is eye-opening. So we will have that next meeting then, and if you're not subscribed, you will not be able to be a part of that. So I definitely encourage you to subscribe, make sure you're a part of that. Mike will also be joining the next one. The first one we had was amazing. It was really good and very insightful. A lot of questions people had, and Inez was just taking them and spitting out just quick with it. Like, she's amazing on the fly. She is amazing. But
Wealth of knowledge.
uh, yeah, she is just filled with it. Like, she just and I'll digress, but she literally grew up in Iran and then immigrated here, became a US citizen, and now is exposing the place she came from. So her book, The Architecture of Jihad, is very, very eye-opening, and I started to see the same events she talked about in that book in the movie. So and even in our society, like, she breaks down we hear about sleeper cells, right? But there's also this thing called decentralized cells. And I started to even pinpoint that nowadays, where I see people being radicalized through the internet and stuff. And these are decentralized cells. This is another tactic to use to try to get people that are in the country to be on their side to carry out their agenda. And it's very, very strategic. And we break all that down. But we also come from a standpoint where we're not looking to blame an individual Muslim. We are looking at the system and how that system could come and try to dismantle our foundation. So all of that stuff is in it, and it trains you how to be able to even articulate this before your city board, when you're going to city meetings, city council meetings, your school board meetings, things like that. So you as an everyday American could come with facts. And so that's what we're doing in a group of preparing you for that. So if you want to be a part of it, I highly encourage you to do so, so you have that knowledge. Okay. So Kash Patel. The next one I want to break down is this Gavin Newsom and the immigration thing that's going on. So California has tried to regulate how federal immigration enforcement operates, but a federal appeals court blocked that effort, pointing to the supremacy clause. So this isn't just about immigration; it's about whether a state can interfere with federal authority. So basically, the key points that I saw in AP, the article by AP, was the federal appeals court blocks California law requiring federal agents to wear identification. So they want them to basically expose who they are. But of course, the Trump administration, the reason why I required them to wear these masks and stuff is to basically because they're being doxxed. Their addresses are being put out there, and they've there's been hits on their lives and their families and stuff. And so this has been something that's a contestant. And what Gavin Newsom is doing is kind of interfering with federal law in a sense. So this has been knocked down by the appeals court, which is great. City Journal is also another one that reported on this, and it said this gives a stronger this gives a more stronger framing about California funding legal defense infrastructure and resisting ICE. So I would encourage you guys to review that. If you'd like for me to leave that link for City Journal, it's City Journal, how Gavin Newsom subsidized the migrant invasion. So I think Mike can attest more to this than I can, because he's done a lot of research into these nonprofits receiving funds to do things like bringing in tons of illegal immigrants and assisting them, and having a whole system like this, and also hiring groups that can resist ICE, whether
Yep.
that be through doxing and things like that. Go ahead, Mike.
Oh yeah, I mean this has been the scheme of the left for years now, and it's unfortunately it's a lot of organizations, a lot of people are familiar with that were during the Biden years. It was Catholic Social Services, it was HIWAS, Hebrew Immigration. I always forget what that acronym is, but it was there was another big Methodist group that was also part of it. It was a lot of these weaponized religious organizations that are for open borders. They paid them billions and billions of dollars, 4 billion just to Catholic Charities, over 2 billion to HIWAS, over 2 billion to the other entity that I'm forgetting the name of now. But this is all part of the plan. Even like ICE Watch, right now, that's getting funded through the Soros Foundation, Open Societies. It's getting funded by people like Neville Singham is funding a lot of this that we see going on around the country, whether it's protests or even continuing to support illegal aliens that are here, helping them hide, helping them run from law enforcement, creating applications to dox agents to report their positions, to warn illegal aliens, including criminals that are here within our borders. I mean, this is a huge, huge problem. Something's got to be done to stop it. Another area where I wish they would just strip the tax exempt status from a lot of these organizations, like they keep threatening to, instead of talking about it, because it will lead to results.
Mm.
But something does have to be done, and it has to be done quick, because we can't take this much longer in the states that are still continuing to hide and conceal and guard these illegals. It's also costing those states. I mean, Illinois is at a massive deficit right now and has huge budgetary problems, even getting past the $450 billion that they have in unfunded liabilities. They can't afford it, and they're prioritizing illegal aliens over Americans. If you guys want more on this, you can check out Behind Enemy Lines. Terry Newsom, he's been covering this in Chicago for years now, right on the ground. We're gonna be talking more about something involving him with one of your other stories here in a minute. But they've targeted people like him as well. Anybody that's showing the public what's really going on. Look at Nick Shirley.
Mhm.
They're literally
Mhm.
passing the Stop Nick Shirley law in California, so he
Yeah.
can't. So he'll get a $10,000 fine if he uncovers more fraud in California. And again, make no mistake, most of this, not I don't know if it's going to be end up being a majority or not in California because of the homeless industrial complex, but a
Yeah.
large portion of it is going to illegal aliens that are here. Yeah, because of the homeless industrial complex, that might end up being $100 billion in fraud on its own. So it's going to give the Leering centers a run for their money.
And what are they afraid of? If you are innocent in this, and what Nick Shirley's trying to do is uncover fraud. This is the taxpayers' money, and it
Yeah.
should be spent responsibly. If your state's doing the right thing, and I love that, and Trump also phrased it like this. He said that there are probably some Republican states that could be found in this fraud thing too. But what
Oh
we've
yeah.
been uncovering so far is that it's majority blue states. So he does make that that clear, that was he does state that with clarity. So, but
Yeah. Well, we got
if
4
you have
billion
to
here in Ohio. So, it's red states, blue states, and purple states. It's wherever you have large pockets of illegal immigrants, especially from certain countries. So, here in Minnesota, it's largely been people from Somalia for the big stuff that's gotten coverage. But down in Cincinnati, something else that they're looking into now, which is a variety of other fraud schemes, home healthcare agencies, and other things. There, it's people from North Africa. It's to Senegal and Mauritania and California. It's a lot of people that are from various countries from South America that are highly involved in it. But these are orchestrated. People didn't come up with these schemes on their own. And the Democrat Party, as has been illustrated both in California and in Minnesota, has greatly benefited. Again, I've probably said this before on here, but the Leering Center, or the address associated with the famous Quality Leering Center, over 4 years, they donated $6 million to the Democrats, they got $4 million out of the daycare fraud, but they were running COVID fraud out of the restaurant that was on the front of the business. And I don't know about you, but every daycare I ever see always has a restaurant attached to it. I don't know how that seems to happen so often when they're involved in fraud. Plus the fake home health agency, and I think they were also involved in the fake autism thing. So they
Mhm,
were
yeah.
they were pocketing a lot of this money, but they were giving the left their kickbacks. And as we know, Keith Ellison and uh, Tampon Tim were looking the other way. They had over 500 whistleblowers come forward and warn them, like, hey, I think there's something shady going on at this daycare that has 2 kids at it, but they're telling us they have
Yeah.
100. Or this restaurant that never seems to be open for business, but yet they say they're serving 5,000 children meals a day. Something doesn't add up here. But instead, the people that were making the reports were being harassed, in some cases demoted, in some cases pushed to either resign, threatened with being fired. So there was a concerted effort to cover it up there. And I'm sure we'll find more of the same in California. We've already had one witness come forward. I think this is with James O'Keefe, that admitted some of this voter fraud scams and all that benefited the mayor over there.
Mhm.
That her campaign was directly benefiting financially from the fraud on the ground. So, something's got to be done. This is the people's money.
Yeah.
I think Rand Paul, he said a few months ago that he estimated $1.6 trillion of our yearly budget goes to fraud and direct waste for political projects like this. I think he's going to end up being short, because we end up with 200 billion just in California, which is what they're projecting now. We're over
Wow.
the 19 billion in Minnesota. I think they're at 21 or 22 billion in fraud they've uncovered there. We're up to 4 billion here in Ohio, 3 or 4 billion in Maine. I know they're looking at some cases in Tennessee right now. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, they're just starting an investigation into Washington State. So, I mean, this is going to total. I wouldn't be at all surprised if it's well over $1 trillion it's uncovered in these various fraud scams. And for whatever reason,
Yeah.
our mainstream media is protecting the fraudsters. Again, I just don't understand. It doesn't make any sense to me.
It's because it's their party. I think one of
Yeah.
the reasons is probably because of their party. And they
Yeah.
don't they Gavin Newsom plans to run in 2028. And if stuff comes out like this in his own state, this gonna hurt him.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, there's so much already that's coming out, that he's done poorly in the state. And I'm like, if you can't do this, you can't do a great job with your state. I don't want you as president. So, and hopefully people, on the left can see that and don't just, oh, well, I just hate Trump. I'll just pick anybody. but literally lead with common sense. But that brings us also to the last story and the next story. I think this one is the most important one. But this is all of them important, but this one right here is like the one that has been leading, I think, a lot of headlines. So this is the SPLC fraud case. So, and I know you've been doing extensive work on this one. This is a Southern Poverty, or research on it. Southern Poverty Law Center, which has numerous influence over how Americans understand extremism, hate, and even political opposition. Their whole thing is going against political extremism and exposing groups and organizations that carry that. Their labels, their lists, their classifications. I think they even led to some deplatforming and all of that. So they
Yep.
shape narratives across media, education, and even government. This is a 50-plus-year-old company. So now with federal prosecutions alleging things like misuse of donor funds and hidden payments to informants, now we have a serious question here about the narratives that they have built. So basically, the allegation says that what they have been doing is manufacturing these claims that through funding the same groups that they're claiming that they were going to dismantle. So there have been allegations that they have funded top leaders of the KKK and many other extremist groups that are racial
Yeah.
discriminatory groups, that I think millions upon millions of donors' dollars, and they haven't disclosed that information. Now, their claim is that they had been working with the FBI to dismantle these groups, and their informants do that. But then I'm going to play a clip for you guys where Todd Blanche says complete opposite. He says that they don't have any information, that any of the things, any findings that they have gone to the FBI, for the FBI to look into anything. So it just seems like they were fabricating these or pushing these extremist groups to kind of make it look like America is very, very racist to keep their organization running and keep money in their pockets, is what it looks like. And I think it's kind of eye opening. I think they have 11 counts. Mike, I'm going to let you speak to the charge, but I believe it's like 11 counts of fraud. They bank
Yes.
wiring and all that they've used. Uh, Names of different companies to kind of conceal themselves, and it was all found out. So this is where we are with
Yeah.
this case. Yeah, go ahead, break
Yeah.
down
The
what you have.
charges, the charges are various types of bank fraud, wire fraud, creating fictitious accounts. A lot of activity that honestly it's normally associated with organized crime because you're trying to conceal the actual sources and destinations and who the money is going to make, intentionally making it difficult to trace. So I mean that's the key part of the actual charges. But what they've uncovered here, like that's even more insidious, and that's like as you said, they were taking a play from another playbook. Basically, they were the ones financing a lot of these known hate groups. They were literally funding the American Nazi Party. They were literally sending money to various like Aryan Nation, whatever, Aryan Brotherhood chapters. They organized this whole Unite the Right rally, which was, again, this is the Charlottesville, this is the very fine people hoax where that originated from. But the way they did it was by inviting a lot of these, again, known hate groups like actual white supremacists, and then inviting other conservatives, commentators, other organizations, whatever, to try to um, tarnish their reputation, when in reality, they didn't know that the Aryan Brotherhood or the American Nazi Party, or I'm blanking on the name of the other entity that was there, that they had no affiliation with them. They didn't organize it with them. It was all done at the behest of the SPLC. And again, like, this is not the first time. Actually, I'm going to pull up something here real quick. Like, remember, they went after Ben Carson in 2014. The Southern Poverty Law Center put Ben Carson on the extremist list. I mean, I don't know about you, but like, Ben Carson's one of the least extreme people I know of. That guy's so like mild mannered and reserved and quiet. Like, I think I've only seen him like get upset and animated at the microphone like maybe 2 times his entire life. But it isn't just big name people they went after. There's 3 people on our network that have been victims of this. Annie Cyrus, and I know she had to threaten to sue them. Apparently, she's a white supremacist and Islamophobic. Terry Newsom, he's apparently a white supremacist for going around getting these FOIAs showing all the money that was going to the illegal aliens, where they pulled funds from American homeless and others, pushed them out on the street literally, or making them sleep in tents under an overpass so they could put illegal aliens in warming buses. Uncovering that made him a white supremacist. So a guy named, I think it was Jeff Tischhauser, wrote an article about him, put it up on their website, and same thing, it's to go after his reputation. And then, of course, who can forget Will Johnson, noted black white supremacist, who is also on our network. Again, he just said things he didn't like. He was talking about election fraud, so boom, white supremacist. They didn't even know who he was, had no idea what he looks like, but because he was covering stories they didn't like, they try to make him a white supremacist. And this is what they do. Like to get into their history a little bit more, they also remove people that are extremists if they're on the left, if they're part of Islamic groups, if they're part of like black nationalists. They pulled 8,000 black nationalists off their hate watch list to protect them. And some of these are like those Looney Tunes. You see the black Hebrew Israelites that you see harassing people in New York and Washington, D.C. They removed them from the list. They removed other like prison gangs, things like that. It's basically, again, they're not there to tell the truth. They're not there to accomplish their mission. They're miles off from that. They are there to smear anybody that they do not like politically, to call them names, to call them racist, when in reality, behind the scenes, they were funding the actual racist the whole time. Because as someone wisely said a few years ago, when it comes to the left, the supply of the demand for racism far outpaces the supply, meaning they need more stories to keep their narrative going. And there's just not enough legitimate hate crimes or legitimate issues of racism that happen within the United States every year. And again, I'm not saying it never happens, because obviously there's always going to be jerks and idiots out there. You're never going to fix everybody, but it is not an epidemic or a crisis like they try to pretend it is.
Right. Mm-hmm. I 1000% agree.
Yeah, and you can't fix individuals either. Like, you can't legislate hate away. That if there are people that are misguided that have these kind of beliefs, there is no law that you can pass that will ever eliminate it. There are always going to be a small number of people like that, a small number of Looney Tunes, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, I remember. I'll digress because I can't. I believe this was during. I think it was the presidential election with Lyndon B. Johnson. There was another candidate that was running alongside him. This was during this is when they passed a bill for the civil rights. This was during the civil rights era. I cannot remember the guy who said this, but he didn't want to go forward with a bill that they were going to pass because that's why I didn't want to go into it, because I couldn't remember the exact details. But I just remember him saying that he believed that this racism thing that they were trying to regulate into basically law was more of a heart issue, and it was about desegregation. So
yeah,
we had gotten to a place where we were equal but segregated, and they were trying to also control private businesses. That was the thing. They were trying to control private businesses that said that they didn't want to serve Black Americans or African Americans. And he said that if we get into the private sector and the government starts to infiltrate there and tries to exert its control there, then we are violating the Constitution. And he said the one thing he's against, doesn't want the segregation, but he doesn't also want us to dive into violating the Constitution. And he said that he felt that this was more of something that needed to be handled at the state level, and it was more of a heart issue than anything that could be changed by law. So, and
I think that was Barry Goldwater.
Yes, Goldwater. Thank you so much.
Because
I was like, I couldn't remember his name.
Yeah, because Goldwater's whole point was, like, we don't need a new law. All we need to do is live up to the values in our Constitution. And I think he's right. I think there's other steps that were taken early on that were worthwhile at the time, like when Kennedy instituted affirmative action for federal programs, for federal money. That was to break the good old boys club. It was something that we needed short term to just create opportunity, because it wasn't even just like they were locking out blacks. They were locking out everybody. If you weren't part of the club, you couldn't get a federal contract. So they made rule changes and instituted the affirmative action program to open the doors, allow people to flourish. But you don't need that forever. At some point, you got to go back, and everybody's got to compete on equal footing again.
Yes.
Yeah, Goldwater was brilliant. The other point that he made in the civil rights era that again kind of has been erased, and they had to amend it with the Voting Rights Act in '67, that he said, well, if you don't include this in it, then southern states are just going to come up with new reasons to prevent blacks from voting, and that was exactly what happened. So again,
And
something.
he's onto something there too, because when I look at, for example, that's what I mentioned earlier in the podcast, when we look at these historical contexts, we can come to the conclusion of the day, because the bill that he did not want signed in, we mentioned that, we'd be violating these private sectors, their rights and all that. Even when we
Yep.
look at, there was a case a while back, and you might can help me with this. Well, I remember there was a gay couple, the same sex couple that wanted to get married, and they went to a vendor to do their cake, and that vendor was a Christian and refused to serve them, and they wanted to sue them for that. They wanted to make them, you know, and so had we continued with that, law violating the Constitution and all that, that person, that vendor that started their own business, that were Christian, that was their values, would have been made to serve them. So it's like
Yep.
you have to look ahead too at how. So it's not like I'm not against. I'm of course I'm black, okay, but he had a point then, that if we started something like this now, how much more could the government spread itself into the private sector to control people?
Yep.
So and violate their constitutional right, and he was right on that too years
Yep.
ago. So
Well, and this law has been
um,
used both ways to attack like family businesses. Like I think it was called the Jamaican Sunshine Bakery case, where they were hiring family members and other people that were from Jamaica to work there because it was a Jamaican bakery. And eventually, you had some crazy white lady that sued him because they wouldn't hire her. And same thing, if you want to run your business however you want to run it, that's fine. And then people can make their own determination whether they want to do business with you or not. It's
yeah.
the law should be that there is no discrimination enshrined in law at the federal or state level, and that everybody has their rights protected. But again, things are a two-way street. Rights come with
Mhm.
responsibilities and consequences. If you do something stupid, you're going to pay the price for it. People are going to know. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's something that is unfortunately weaponized now. That it's instead of
Mhm.
being something to protect people, protect their rights, now it's something that's used to sow division, and it's terrible.
Yeah, agreed. So I guess we'll be following this case, because I think the SPLC have, basically
Oh,
said that they are not guilty of these crimes, or
yeah,
the
fat
fraud
chance of
charges
that.
against them.
The media is out there running cover for them too, trying to. I mean, I love the excuses too. Oh, they were embedding people. They were embedding informants. No, no, they weren't. They weren't embedding informants. They were paying like known actual psychopaths so that they could go smear people on the right and associate them with it. To go to the cake story though, real quick, they went after the couple that went to his bakery. They drove 40 something miles out of their way past I don't remember how many bakeries to target this guy. And it wasn't that he wouldn't sell them a cake. He said he'd sell them whatever it was off his normal production, whatever. He didn't want to make them a custom cake with whatever the message was they wanted on it. He said, it violated his religious beliefs. And it's just like if you wanted to hire an artist to do something, let's say you wanted to paint something in your baby's room right now, a nice tree on the wall or a scene from a movie or what, I don't know, whatever. And they got out there like, well, this isn't the kind of artwork I do. You wouldn't go then and sue them because like, hey, all I do is landscapes. All I do is this. This is out of my wheelhouse. It would be like, you're getting the wrong person for this job. And that's, again, abuse of the courts. It's weaponizing the courts to push a political agenda, just like they're doing with
Mhm.
immigration. To tie it back to our first story with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, it's it's uh, it's activist judges weaponizing the courts to push a specific agenda forward.
I think we have a clip. I wanted you guys to hear what Todd Blanche had to say about it, because the reporters. I thought they asked really fair questions here, when Todd Blanche brought this case before them, that I thought was really insightful. So if we have that clip, let's play that.
Your lawsuit contends that you were not able to log into the system. What did you think after you were unable to log into the system?
Let's have a
That's
survey.
not it. That is
How many
the
of you people believe that's true? Hang on.
Did you communicate?
that's the second one with Cash Patel. I mentioned to you guys that there was a whole thing saying that he couldn't get into his computer, and that he had thought that he was fired, and so they were running with that story too. I don't know if we have
I don't think I do have the other clip. I'm looking.
in that same clip. Hmm. Okay, well,
Okay.
that's okay.
Let me see if I can find the correct timestamp real quick, because I only saw 2 timestamps, so I might have missed it.
Okay. So at the beginning, of course, they give the breakdown, and then later on they open it up for questions, and that was what was revealed with Todd Blanche. I guess while you're looking that up, I'll go into quickly. I've watched a little bit of our Senate hearing for the fiscal budget for 2027 with Secretary Scott Bessent. I think this was really good. The message from the administration, I feel, is clear when you hear how they're spending and where they're cutting. They're cutting a lot. Is and I think maybe Scott Bessent said something along these lines, like we don't have unlimited resources to just do this and that. So we're doing trade-offs, and there were a lot of, I feel like those senators that were asking him questions agreed with how he was doing it. He did tremendous cuts to the IRS already and wants to do more. I believe Mike and I, we talked about this off camera. There are like a 20,000 plus employees that were already cut from the IRS, and they're
Yep.
doing this thing now where they're implementing AI to help with offset some of the things. And I think maybe we need to do an episode on AI, so to put to fears, or put to rest any fears that people have about AI taking your job, because I don't think that's what's going to be the case. But um, so basically, Scott Bessent pushed back and said that they were downsizing this, which was saving, it was going to save billions of dollars, not just the IRS downsizing, but all of the other cuts that they were doing, and how they were still operating with efficiency even with those cuts, was billions of dollars that would be saved. I think it was like 1.5 billion that he mentioned. So
Hmm.
with the IRS specifically, though, he talked about the fact that they're implementing the AI tools to help to with the returns and processing people's tax returns, and that he also mentioned that people were getting their refunds back within like 21 days. It was the most efficient. So all those claims there. So I think what's coming from the administration has always been clear, and I think this is being definitely restated with Secretary Scott Bessent as Treasury Secretary, which is basically we're leading a pro growth, pro efficiency, um, you know,
Yeah.
responsible type economy, but where we're cutting where we need to cut, but we're still being efficient with those cuts. And um, I think from what I feel like the pushback that Secretary Scott Bessent gave when he wasn't cut off was solid. To be honest,
Yeah.
when I heard it. So
I mean, I think Scott Bessent's really done just a fantastic job up there. He solved a lot of problems. We didn't need these 87,000 new IRS agents that the Bidens were trying to hire. Instead, what he's done is implement AI and focus and even there, like for audits, instead of just, harassing regular taxpayers that maybe there's a dispute about something they wrote off on their taxes or whatever. Instead, they're looking for patterns in organized crime or money laundering or other suspicious activity. That's what they're utilizing instead. So they can target, people that are abusing the systems, not somebody that, wrote something off on their taxes that the IRS disputes, and now they're going to have to pay a $300 fine or whatever. Focus on actual criminals, not on people like you or me that maybe we misunderstood a rebate program and wrote off an extra $200 of our income, minor amounts of money that can lead to big fines, but due to misunderstandings. Instead, focusing on actual criminals and criminal activity and putting pressure there instead of, again, on just everyday citizens that small dollar disputes that lead to big dollar fines.
yeah, do we have an asset on? I believe there was some of the findings that when it came to the tax refunds. I think it was like
Yep.
11.7%.
There you
Do we
go.
have that?
Yep.
Okay, let me
On
see
screen
here.
now.
Thank you. The average tax refund is 11.2% higher this season compared with about the same period in 2025, according to the latest IRS filing data. And then as of April 10th, the average refund amount for individual filers over $3,000, and a little up from that a year ago. So good reportings are seen, and I've seen some comments too of people saying their tax refund looks great, looks better than it's had in previous years. And of course the quick return as well. So all of that's really good.
Yeah.
Uh, any luck on that video? If we don't, it's okay.
No, I don't see the link to it in the document. You did have the times, but I don't see a link to the video. Sorry.
Okay, it's okay. So, so basically, guys, he was Todd Blanche was talking about one of the questions that was asked was did they find that what the SPLC was saying about the informants and handing information over to FBI true? And they said that they don't have any documentation that that's what they were doing. You know, between those two, that was the reason for it. There was no information given to the FBI recently about that, so it doesn't seem like that is true. So there's a lot of things that if you watch that clip from Todd Blanche answering those questions, it seems like the SPLC is definitely guilty and they don't have an actual alibi. So for anything that they any of the money that they're supposed to give back, and they're supposed to be they're going to have a hefty uh, bill to pay when it comes to
Oh
this
yeah.
case. So yeah, we'll be following that too, and then I could keep you guys updated on that.
One thing real quick on this is even one thing I've noticed is even when you do see their spokespeople on TV addressing this or their defenders in the media, they're not talking about the charges in the document. They're not making excuses saying, "Oh no, we didn't commit bank fraud or create fictitious bank accounts or do other things that are clearly illegal." What they're trying to say is, "Oh no, no, somehow us paying this Klansman to show up here, that wasn't us financing them. That was all, that was research. That's how we were going to, and again, like we said, they were just creating the stories and then writing about them. They were fictitiously creating stories that didn't exist to associate people on the right with hate. And then they would write about it. And then all their friends in the media, same thing, would circulate these stories. It all goes, I mean, think very fine people hoax. They paid for that rally. They orchestrated that. And man, did they get a good bang for their buck if you were the left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so definitely be following this case really. And you're right, I didn't hear them deny anything. They just restated all of the things that they had done throughout the years to help America and stuff, and that was really it. So, uh, yeah. Whereas the difference in the contrast between what Cash Patel did was, though he stated his his stats, he did deny the allegations too. So, yeah, that's something to pay attention to. It, I want to see if we can end on the Dershowitz interview.
I can tell you now, I just saw your text. I'm not going to be able to grab that and get it up quick enough because Facebook I have
Okay.
to process.
Okay, no problem. Okay. Well, guys, I do want to thank you so much for hopping in with us. I hope this was insightful and provide you guys some insight that might not be covered in the mainstream media. Also, I want to remind you that if you have not already subscribed, make sure that you subscribe if you want to go deeper into certain topics in our nation. And we hit these topics as they unfold too, so that way you have real context to them. And it's not just like regurgitating what you're hearing, even from commentators. But you're actually getting the context so you can think for yourself and come up with your own conclusions and be articulate and confident about the certain issues that are taking place in our nation at this moment. I think the biggest thing for us as Christian conservatives is that we cannot just sit back and just say, great job, we elected somebody who better fits our bill when it comes to our values and fighting for our constitution and reestablishing religion and all that. We have actually got to get up and do the work ourselves, and however that looks, whether that is you showing up at your school board meeting because you have kids in school, but showing up informed, like I mentioned, the same laws and the same or EOs that Donald Trump is signing in, they have to be fought at the local level. Otherwise, we're going to lose it. So we're going to lose that momentum and the change that we so desperately want to see, which is basically establishing the foundation that this nation was built on and
Yep.
upholding the Constitution. And so this is what we want to see in our nation. What we constantly see from the right is a constant radical shift that basically wants America to not be a global leader but a global member, and that wants that constantly says Donald Trump is the one going against the Constitution, but the things that they're doing actually does that. We see a bunch of fraud and lack of accountability and all that, and that is, I'm going to say it, the result of a nation that hasn't come under the submission and the submission and the leadership of God. But we've constantly drifted from that over the last past years, and then we see all of this stuff comes up where there's no objective truth. It's my truth, her truth, whatever truth that they wanted is subjective. And so we have to have those foundations as a nation. It should be strong in this nation because that's what we're built on. And we see the effects of that, especially when you even last thing I'm going to say is when you look at the Soviet Union, it was which was one a country that even started with this whole abortion thing, right? And that was a country that didn't honor the word of God and didn't at all in that form. And for them, abortion and the sacrifice of children, that was okay to do. And then we later adopted that and into our system. So and again, shifting away from the Bibles as we did in the 60s and a little before that. So definitely make sure if you want to subscribe, hop into that. We discuss all those things in detail. And like I mentioned, we bring in key people that can help us to dive into them even more deep to provide the context needed so you can be solid on the issues. But I thank you guys so much for joining us. Mike, thank you so much for taking the time again. Always
Thank you for
appreciate you
having
being
me.
with me.
Always
And
happy to be here.
thank you. And guys, I will see you guys in the next one. So join me next week. I believe we'll try to do Thursday. I'll keep you guys updated because next week we have a mass crusade May 1st through the 3rd here in my state that I will be leading with TPUSA Rise. I mentioned to you guys, if you've seen some of my videos, this is codified in South Carolina right now. That May 1st to the 3rd will be a weekend where we rededicate South Carolina to the Lord. Our senators
That's
have signed off
awesome.
on this. It's amazing. It's at that level where it's gone through the House, and it's codified. So it's pretty cool that this is the place we are in right now. And like I said, we have to run with that. So we're doing a mass crusade. This is going to be huge. I think we'll have some footage too. I'll try my best to have my team cover this because we're looking at about 15,000 people show up. It's been covered by his radio. It's all over. So we believe this is going to be massive in South Carolina. May 1st through the 3rd, we got a mass crusade here right at the fairgrounds in North Charleston, South Carolina. You can find this as well on the news too. World Harvest Ministries is the organization actually heading this with TPUSA Rise, which is where I come in as well. And there's a lot of churches in my area that are also a part of this. And we are putting aside any differences to come to one conclusion, and that is Jesus is Lord. And we want to, and people that need baptisms that want to rededicate their life or dedicate their life to the Lord, this is the opportunity. And so that is what we're doing. It's going to be massive. I'm super excited to be a part of that. My husband will be baptizing people. So it's going to be awesome. So yeah, I'll try to get some footage for that too. So thank you guys so much for joining. And I'll probably be going live maybe Thursday. Mike will talk about that. So that way we have something come out. And I will see you guys next time. Bye for now.